Number 1. Elizabeth Báthory, other blood countess. Elizabeth Báthory was born in 1560 in Hungary. Her family was rich and powerful. She lived in a big castle with servants, knights, and fine clothes. Even as a child, Elizabeth was different. She had strange fits, violent moods, and dark thoughts. Some say she watched people being punished for stealing. Others say she learned about torture from her family. By age 15, she was married to Count Ferenc Nadasdy, a strong soldier. Together, they lived in a large castle called Szegety Castle. But once her husband went to war, Elizabeth was alone. And that's when the real horror began. Young village girls were sent to work in the castle. They cleaned, they cooked, they served the Countess. But one by one, they began to disappear. Some girls were seen going inside the castle gates, but never came back. Villagers whispered, "The Countess is doing something evil." They saw smoke rise from the castle chimney. They heard screams at night. But no one dared question a noblewoman. Elizabeth said, "They ran away. They were thieves." But the truth was much darker. Inside her castle, Elizabeth had secret rooms. One had a long table, chains on the walls, knives, whips, iron spikes. She began to torture the girls. Some were beaten until their skin tore. Others were burned with hot metal rods. Some were cut open, just to watch them bleed. She kept books with the names of each girl, and the way she hurt them. Her servants helped her. They were too afraid to say no. And some say, Elizabeth began to believe that blood could keep her young. One day, a servant girl made a mistake. Elizabeth slapped her hard across the face. Blood splattered on Elizabeth's hand. She looked at it and smiled. She believed it made her skin look younger, more beautiful. From that moment, she wanted more blood. She would cut girls open and let the blood pour into a tub. Then she would bathe in it. She said, "Blood is youth. Blood is power." She began killing girls every week. Then every day. At first, she took only peasants, poor village girls. No one listened to the poor. But over time, she wanted nobler blood. So she invited young daughters of noble families to her castle. That's when things changed. Some girls were never seen again. Families began to complain to the king. People started to speak louder. Elizabeth is a murderer. She is a witch. The king sent a man named Georgi Thurzo, a trusted noble, to investigate. What he found shocked the world. Thurzo arrived at the castle in 1610. His men searched the halls. They opened locked rooms. They found dead bodies. Bleeding victims still alive. Torture tools stained with blood. One girl had been sewn into a horse's stomach. Another had her fingers removed. They found hundreds of bones buried around the castle. Elizabeth stood quietly, smiling. She was arrested that night. But she was too noble to face a normal court. Elizabeth's servants were put on trial. They told the truth. Yes, we helped. She made us. They said she killed over 600 girls. But only 80 could be proven. Her servants were executed. Some were burned alive. Others were beheaded. As for Elizabeth, she was never brought to court. She was locked in her own castle. In one room. Forever. The windows were sealed with bricks. Only a small hole was left for food and water. She stayed there for 4 years. Until she died in 1614. Aileen was born in 1956 in Michigan. From the start, life was full of pain. Her dad was in jail. He hurt little children. He ended his life behind bars. Her mom left when Aileen was just a baby. She and her brother were sent to live with their grandparents. But the home wasn't safe. Her grandfather was angry. He hit her. He yelled. By age 11, Aileen was already in trouble. She lived in the woods, slept in cars, and traded her body for food or money. At 14, she got pregnant. The baby was taken away. Aileen was kicked out and left to survive alone. Aileen had no home. No love. Only the highway. She became a prostitute, standing by roads, waiting for passing cars. She stayed in cheap motels. Ate from trash. Fought to stay alive. She got arrested many times for stealing, fighting, and working the streets. But inside, Aileen carried deep pain. And soon, it turned into hate. In 1986, Aileen met a woman named Tyria Moore. Tyria was quiet. Shy. Kind. Aileen fell in love fast. They moved in together. Aileen promised Tyria, "I'll take care of us. I'll make the money." So she went back to the streets. Back to the highway. But this time, something had changed. December 1st, 1989. A man named Richard Malloy picked Aileen up. He took her to a quiet wooded spot. Aileen later said, "He tried to hurt me. I was scared. So she pulled out a gun. She shot him. Once. Twice. 3 times. She took his car. His wallet. And left his body behind. Was it self-defense? Or something darker? 1 body became 2. Then 3. Then 4. Over the next year, 7 men were found dead in Florida. All were shot. All had been seen with Aileen. But Aileen kept walking the highways. Kept bringing home money for Tyria. She said, "They all tried to hurt me. I had no choice." But not every man had a bad record. Some were just kind strangers. One day, Aileen pawned something that belonged to one of the victims. She gave her thumbprint. Police followed the print. Right to her. But they needed more. They asked Tyria to help. She agreed. Police gave Tyria a phone. She called Aileen and said, "I'm scared. Please tell the truth." Aileen replied, "I did it. I'll take the blame." It was over. Narrator. Aileen went to court in 1992. The media called her America's first female serial killer. She yelled in court. She cried. She said the men deserved to die. But the jury didn't believe her. They saw her as a killer, not a victim. She was sentenced to death. Aileen spent 10 years on death row. She spoke to reporters. Sometimes calm. Sometimes angry. Sometimes wild. She said, "They hurt me first." Then later said, "I would do it again." In 2002, Aileen was executed by lethal injection. She was 46 years old. Her final words were, "I'll be back, with Jesus, on a spaceship." Number 3. Leonarda Cianciulli, the soap maker of Correggio. Leonarda was born in Italy in 1893. Her life was sad and hard from the start. She said her mother hated her. She tried to end her own life twice before she was 20. She believed she was cursed and visited fortune tellers. One told her, "You will marry, but all your children will die." That stayed in her heart forever. Leonarda married a man her mother didn't like. Soon after, her problems began. She was arrested for fraud. Her house was destroyed by an earthquake. She moved to a small town called Correggio to start over. But the pain followed. Leonarda had 17 pregnancies. Only 4 children survived. The rest either died young or were stillborn. This broke her. She became obsessed with protecting her children, especially her favorite son, Giuseppe. She said, I'd do anything to keep him safe. Anything. In 1939, war broke out in Europe. Giuseppe said he wanted to join the army. Leonarda was terrified. She believed he would die. Unless she offered a human sacrifice. And just like that, the soap-making horror began. Leonarda's first victim was Faustina Setti. She was an older woman, lonely and looking for love. Leonarda told her she found a husband in another town. She even helped her write goodbye letters to her friends. Faustina came to Leonarda's house. They drank wine. Then, Leonarda drugged her. As Faustina passed out, Leonarda picked up an axe. She hit her. Over and over. After the murder, she chopped the body into pieces. Put the flesh into a pot. Added chemicals. And stirred. She later said, "I boiled her for hours. The fat melted away. I made soap from it." She also baked cookies using her blood. Leonarda gave these to her neighbors. Even her own children. Her next victim was Francesca Soavi, a former teacher. Leonarda told her she found her a new job in a nearby town. Just like before, she had Francesca write goodbye letters. Then invited her over for wine. Francesca never left. She too was chopped, boiled, and turned into soap. Leonarda said her flesh was fatty, perfect for soap, and her blood made sweet tea cakes. The last victim was Virginia Cassiopo, a singer. Leonarda told her she found work with a rich man. Virginia was excited. She told her sister she had a big opportunity. She visited Leonarda's house. And just like the others, she vanished. But this time, something was different. Virginia's sister got worried. She told the police. And they began to ask questions. Police came to Leonarda's home. They found blood, clothes, books with names. They asked her what happened to the women. At first, she denied everything. But then she said, "Yes. I killed them. I made them into soap. I did it to save my son." She told them every detail. Even how many cups of blood she used in each cake. She smiled as she spoke. As if she had done nothing wrong. In 1946, Leonarda stood trial in Italy. Crowds came to watch. Newspapers called her the soapmaker of Correggio. She was calm, polite, even proud. She said, "I gave those women a better use. Their bodies were not wasted." She was found guilty of 3 murders and sentenced to 30 years in prison and 3 years in a mental asylum, just as one fortune teller had told her years ago. Leonarda spent her last years in prison. She died in 1970 at the age of 76. To this day, people wonder, was she evil? Or just broken by fear and grief? In her mind, she wasn't a killer. She was a mother doing what she had to do. To protect her son. Even if it meant turning her friends into soap and cookies. Number 4, Katherine Knight, the cannibal of Australia. Katherine Knight was born in 1955 in a small town in New South Wales, Australia. Her life at home was not easy. Her parents fought all the time. Her mother spoke openly about violent sex in front of the children. Katherine was bullied in school. She didn't do well in her classes. But when she got angry, she exploded. Even as a teenager, people said she had 2 sides. Kind one moment, violent the next. She once said, "If I love you, I'll love you forever. If I hate you, you're dead." At age 16, Katherine left school and got a job at a slaughterhouse. She loved her job, especially when she was butchering animals. She took home her own set of knives and hung them above her bed. She said, "They make me feel safe." In her early 20s, Katherine married a man named David Kellett. He was a truck driver. She was jealous, controlling, and violent. She once hit him in the head with a frying pan. Another time, she burned his clothes and tried to kill him. David left. But Katherine didn't stop. Katherine had several more relationships. And in each one, the same pattern returned. Love with obsession, then rage. She stabbed one partner. Hit another with an iron. And once, she cut a man's throat while he was sleeping. He survived. But the worst came later. When she met John Price. He was kind, funny, and had 3 kids. Everyone warned him. Stay away from Katherine. But he didn't listen. At first, John and Katherine were happy. They lived together. She cooked, cleaned, and helped with his kids. But soon, her dark side returned. She wanted to marry him. He said no. She grew angry. She threatened his kids. She stabbed him once before. John kicked her out. But she always came back. And one day, he let her in again. That would be his last mistake. On February 29, 2000, Katherine made her plan. She bought black lingerie. She made a special dinner. She waited. That night, she went to John's house. They argued. Then made up. Later, as he slept, she grabbed her knives and stabbed him. Once. Twice. Over 30 times. John tried to escape. Blood was found on the walls, the door, even outside. But he collapsed. And died. What happened next was worse than death. Katherine dragged John's body to the kitchen. She skinned him from head to toe. Hung his skin on a meat hook. She cut off his head. Then cooked parts of his body in a stew. She set the table. Placed name cards. And put cooked pieces of John's body on the plates, one for each of his children. Police arrived the next morning. The smell was strong. The scene was unbelievable. They found John's body, headless, skinned, and cooked. His head was in a pot, boiling. Katherine had taken sleeping pills. She tried to end her life. But she survived. Katherine was arrested. She claimed she remembered nothing. Doctors said she had borderline personality disorder. But she knew right from wrong. The court gave her life in prison. No chance for parole. First woman in Australia to ever get that sentence. The judge said, "This is one of the worst crimes ever seen." She showed no guilt. No sadness. Just silence. Today, Katherine Knight sits in a high-security prison in Australia. She spends her days alone. No visitors. No family. No knives. She once wrote in a letter, "I still miss him. I didn't mean to hurt him." But the world doesn't believe her. They call her the Cannibal of Australia. And they will never forget the dinner she tried to serve. Number 5, Belle Gunness, the Black Widow of the Midwest. Belle Gunness was born in Norway in 1859. Her real name was Brynhild Paulsdatter Strasseth. She grew up poor. She dreamed of a better life. In her 20s, she moved to America. She changed her name to Belle. She was tall and strong, over 6 feet. She worked hard. Cooked, cleaned, and saved every penny. Then she married a man named Mads Sorensen. They opened a candy store in Chicago. But soon, the store burned down. And Mads died suddenly. Belle collected insurance money. A lot of it. People began to whisper. But Belle moved away. And started again. In 1902, Belle bought a farm in Laporte, Indiana. She had kids. She needed help. So she placed ads in newspapers. The ad said, "Widow, owns large farm. Wants to meet gentlemen of means. Object, matrimony. Men answered. Dozens of them. From all over the country. They came with money, hoping for love. Belle told them to bring cash only. She said banks were not safe. They came. They smiled. They vanished. Belle had a plan. She greeted each man warmly. She cooked them dinner. Made them feel loved. Then, she killed them. Some were poisoned. Others were hit with a meat cleaver. She buried their bodies in the pig pen, in the cellar, or under the barn. Belle did this for years. And no one suspected. Neighbors said. She was a quiet woman. Kind. Strong. But beneath her apron was a killer's heart. Families began asking, "Where is my brother? Where is my son?" Some traveled to Laporte. Belle smiled and said, "Oh, he left weeks ago." She was calm. Charming. Nobody could prove anything. But then, she met a man named Andrew Helgelien. And that would change everything. Andrew was from South Dakota. He sold everything and came to meet Belle. Then he vanished. His brother, Arcel, was suspicious. He wrote letters. Got no reply. So he came to Laporte himself. He asked around. No answers. He went to the sheriff. He begged them to investigate. But before they could, Belle's house caught fire. On April 28, 1908, Belle's farmhouse burned to the ground. Inside, they found 4 bodies. 3 children and 1 woman. They said it was Belle. But the woman's body was much smaller. The head was missing. Was it really Belle? Or a trick? As police searched the farm, they found bones. Then more bones. Then full bodies, over a dozen. Some in burlap sacks. Some with skulls cracked open. One body was Andrew Helgelien. The truth was out. The woman in the fire had no head. Was it Belle? Some believed she had faked her death. That she killed another woman. Started the fire. And ran away with the money. Others said it really was her. That someone finally got revenge. To this day, no one knows for sure. Police found at least 14 bodies. But some say Belle killed over 40 people. Her victims were mostly men. Some were women. Even children may have been poisoned. She used charm and love letters to lure them in. Then used axes and poison to end their lives. She did it all for money and control. Belle Gunness was one of the deadliest women in history.